What is going on, guys? It is 3 Guns Down as always, and we recently just finished the Rise of Iron Raid Wrath of the Machine, and I gotta say, that is the best motherfucking raid Bungie has ever done! Everyone says it's easy, but it wasn't easy, and I'll tell you why. Everyone went into the raid over-leveled as fuck on light, okay? I mean, the team that got first place had like 3 or 4 370s, they had 2 380 guys, and they had only one guy that was below 370, he was like 360 something, 368, 360 whatever. The very last encounter is light level 380, and that encounter, people at about 370 light will have mild difficulty with it, okay? People at 380 light will have 0 difficulty with it. It'll be about like a normal strike or a heroic, and then people that are 390 or plus, obviously it gets easier and easier. The more light you get, the more damage you do, the more resistance to damage you have. So these people that are going in overleveled as fuck with like 2 380s on their team, the amount of damage they're pumping out makes this encounter significantly easier. No one on my raid team is above 372. In fact, our 372 is the highest, and there's only one person above 370. Everyone else is 370 or lower. In fact, only one person is 370, and everyone else is below. One person was 355. So we were carrying a 355 light level guy all the way through the raid, and I will tell you something. It is not easy. It is not easy when you are the recommended light level. It is hard. It's hard as fuck. And it's because Bungie screwed the pooch on their math. You shouldn't have been able to attain a light level higher than 365. That was their plan before raid release. And then at raid release, you were supposed to be able to get up to 385. Well, people walked into the raid at 389. So that, completely fucked the pooch. They fucked up on their math, and that made the raid marginally easier for a lot of these people that play 8 hours a day, okay? I mean, like, so much easier for these people that stockpiled rep rewards and engrams and heavy ammo synth and motes of light. So much easier for those people that stocked all of that shit. So much easier. So yeah, people say it's not the hardest encounter. It wasn't the hardest encounter because you were over-leveled as balls for the encounter. In terms of difficulty, I would put it up there with Vault of Glass. I would say Oryx is the most difficult, followed by probably Vault of Glass, then followed by Wrath of the Machine. I would say is very close second to Vault of Glass, if not the same difficulty as Vault of Glass, and the easiest was Crota's End by far. And people are saying, oh well, this raid was beat in the shortest amount of time, it's obviously the easiest. No, a couple things you have to think about. I think Vault of Glass took us somewhere between 12 to 14 hours, maybe even longer. Vault of Glass took about a day, though. Crota's End took like 6 hours. And it's the easiest by far. King's Fall, Oryx, took about 6.5 hours, and it was the most difficult by far. And I would say, Wrath of the Machine was about as difficult as Vault of Glass, but it only took 3.5 hours. Why? It only took 2 hours and like 17 minutes. And that's because they were just over-leveled for the content. Extremely over-leveled for the content. Basically, these raid teams were going in with the light level of having already done the raid 2 or 3 times. That's what they were entering the raid with the light level of. So it was very, very skewed. They weren't having to deal with more difficult enemies in terms of how much damage they do to you and how much damage they do back. The only thing they really had to deal with were the mechanics. They just had to learn the mechanics and not worry about, well, I can't really survive in this area because I'm too low of a light level, so I have to learn how to play differently around this area that I'm in order to stay alive for this encounter. They didn't have to learn that kind of thing because nothing posed a challenge to them like that. Um, Unfortunately, Rise of Irons, the mood towards it will be skewed like this because of how this light level worked when the game came out, and that's something that's unfortunate, and I really hope it's something Bungie takes note of in the future. And before the raid releases, they need to put a hard cap on what's the maximum light you can achieve, and then that hard cap needs to change. Like nothing, you should be able to decrypt nothing above 365. You should be able to get nothing above 365 before the raid, and then after the raid, everything's 385 with a little patch, you know, just a little patch in your algorithms. Pre-prepare that stuff, okay? And then hard mode, everything's 400. The main team did that. You'll notice that the main team did that when they were developing King's Fall, and it's pretty obvious because that's how, I mean, everybody went into like King's Fall at like 290. Some people were 300. Like I managed to hit 299. And dude, I was grinding my ass off for days. I mean, just like that was King's Fall was probably the hardest I've ever gone to hit 299 right before raid. So again, it's skewed, but this was definitely the most fun I've ever had in a raid, without a doubt, 100%. The set pieces in this raid were the best they've ever been. Now, there's one thing I'll say. I wish there was more parkour. And not that I wish there was more parkour, like, oh, jumping around and stuff. I wish there was a challenging parkour puzzle somewhere in the raid. King's Fall had 2 of them that challenged you. The Guardian Pachinko Machine and the Hive Ship parkour maze run. Well, it wasn't a maze, but it was like a timing type deal. You had to jump from one ship to the other. It was almost like King's Fall always reminded me of like a Destiny version of MXC Wipeout, okay? And I loved that part of it, which is probably why I loved King's Fall so much. But King's Fall had like 3 too many mechanics. Not 1, not 2, but 3 too many mechanics. Because if you think about it, when you're fighting orcs, alright, well first you gotta get all the platforms up, and you have to jump around, and you have to grab the relic up at the top, and then you have to jump down, and you have to get the vessel and get the aura from the vessel, and you have to bring it back to everybody, and then everybody else has to make sure they killed their ogres, and after they killed their ogres, everybody's going to the center, but they can't touch the corruption yet. They have to wait to touch the corruption, then they have to stagger orcs, then everybody runs out to their corruption, and everybody runs back to the center, okay? And then once you've run back to the center, you gotta see if you've done enough damage for phase 1, which is being ported into the little black hole, or phase 2, which is bombs, so you gotta run around a thing, and then rinse and repeat. And then hard mode added light eaters, light eater knights, so you had to take care of each of them. So like, you see what I mean? You see how many mechanics are there? You see how many pieces are there? The Wrath of the Machine raid is complex. It has mechanics, but they're not overwhelming. You can deal with them, and you have room for a little bit of fuck up. You can fuck up just a tiny bit. Like, one person can die, and if you play it really smartly, you can survive that whole round. You can't do that in King's Fall. One person dies, just go ahead and fucking wipe. Just wipe the raid. Just go ahead and wipe the raid. One person dies in VOG. If you play it smartly, you can still do a whole damage cycle on Atheon. Okay? One person dies on Crota. You play it smartly, you can still do a full damage cycle on Crota. King's Fall is like a no-air kind of raid, and I love King's Fall. It's a really good raid. I enjoyed it, but I do agree with people that, yeah, wait a little bit too, just a little bit, like 1 to 2 mechanics less, and King's Fall might have been perfect. Might have been the best raid ever. It's a really long raid, though. And Wrath of the Machine, 2 hours and 17 minutes, first time through. For the world first team, we'll all get to about 2 hours and 17 minutes eventually. I think people will be able to do this raid in about an hour and 30 minutes. 2 hours maximum on the average is what I think people will be doing this at. And you know what? That's fine. That's fine with me, because people still spend 3 hours on King's Fall. An average raid group will spend 3 hours on King's Fall. An above average, hour and a half to 2. A really good one, you can probably get it done in an hour. So yeah, it's just everybody's ideas of it are currently really skewed, because it's new, and we were really over leveled for it. And I think hard mode will put everybody's ideas of it in check a little bit more and introduce those new mechanics that we have to deal with. And I can't wait for challenge mode. I want them to get really creative with these challenge modes. But the live team, I think, has made one of the most fun raids by far. Whether you think it had the best mechanics or not, if it was the most fun raid, then it is the best raid, because it's the most fun you've had, and that's the whole point of the game, is to have fun, right? That is the whole point of the game, have fun. So if this is the most fun raid, that means it's probably the best raid. The only way they could have made it better is add a parkour section. You know, like the Guardian Pachinko machines, or like I really wanted a parkour section where stuff started to fall apart. And we kind of got like a little, ooh, maybe, you know, maybe this is what we're gonna get, parkour section, when we're jumping around in those halls, and some of the metal rafter falls out from under you, and it's like, ooh, please, you know, like I wanted that. I wanted a whole section of just all this metal stuff, and you touch it and it falls, so the person behind you's like, fuck, and can't, you know. Or you hit it and the wire snaps and it leans and starts rocking one way, and so you gotta jump while it's rock. I mean, there's a lot of different things they definitely could have done that I thought would have been really interesting for a parkour little puzzle. And I think parkour puzzles are fun on their own, because they're challenging a player's ability to platform, and that's really fun to me. You know, I was always disappointed with Vault of Glass when it had the steps, the endless steps, and one step comes up and it's like zoom, and then it disappears, zoom, and the next one appears, zoom, right? And the first time I saw that, I'm like, oh, fuck yes, right? I wanted it to go faster. I wanted it to be random. I wanted it to be more of them. I wanted it to be so much more complicated. I fucking love that. And it was just the same exact pattern over and over again, which turns out you don't even have to do it. You can just skip the whole thing. You can jump off to the side and super your way down onto the ledge, and that's it. You don't have to do it. But overall, Wrath of the Machine, it's a really good raid. And you know what? I think to send off Destiny, because this is the last Destiny expansion. Next year we're getting Destiny 2, guys. To send off Destiny, I think it's probably the best raid they could have done it with. I really do. It was the most fun we've had in a raid. And if you're having fun, what else is there? That's the whole point of the game. That's why you spent $60. In my case, more like $150, but fuck it, it was worth it. Guys, I'm Guns. Hope you enjoyed this video. What do you think about the new raid? Do you enjoy it? What's your favorite raid in Destiny? And what's your favorite mechanics out of Destiny? Like I said, I'm a sucker for the parkour stuff. Give me a good parkour puzzle, and your raid automatically gets +1. Oh, best opening to a raid. What was the best opening to the raid? How you get into the raid? Because the obvious answer is Crota's End. The dark run through the lamps. Come on, how can you not love that? That was terrifying and amazing all at the same time. Pissed yourself and loved it at the same time. It doesn't get better than that. Guys, I'm Guns. All the stuff you need is down in the description below, including Twitter, Facebook, Twitch. Come watch us play Destiny and talk about it with me over on twitch.tv. You can support the channel with the affiliate link, Greenman Gaming, and Patreon. I'm Guns. Thank you for listening to me rabble. I'm gonna get out of here.